With the entire crypto market experiencing a recovery over the past 24 hours and virtually everything up anywhere from 3, 4, 5 to 10% or higher, people want to know if now is the best time to buy cryptocurrencies. If so, what are the best cryptocurrencies to buy now? And in my last live call with our paying clients that we did talking about the crypto market and this breakdown in total too, back down within a key zone of support that we were at on the 20th of August. And now with us reversing back to the upside, this is a monumental shift in the altcoin market that we're going to discuss in this video. So we're going to get into the price chart talking about total 2. We're going to break down the path to alt season, what comes next. People wondering if meme coins are dead, retail leaving the markets in droves based on Google Trends, and yet Ethereum is still over $4,400 right now. So what does this mean for everything outside of the top 10? And what are some of the top altcoins that investors are going to be buying when we see the next massive move to the upside? So in this video, we're going to talk just about that, specifically 3 top crypto coins that investors are going to be buying underneath 1 penny. And quick disclaimer, I don't own any of them. So this video is purely for educational, informational purposes only, purely based on data, what I see happening in the markets. And if I were to accumulate more altcoins in this specific category of the crypto market, these 3 would be some of the top ones that I would look into. So as always, you guys are going to love this video. Comment 777 if you're feeling blessed, if you're feeling bullish, and if you're going to become the first millionaire or billionaire in your family tree, confirm it by tapping the subscribe button. Let's run it. All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So with the crypto market bouncing over the past 24 hours, Donald Trump's son is bold posting saying a new era for Bitcoin in America starts now. American Bitcoin debuts on the NASDAQ today. And now we're seeing a reversal in the altcoin market. And if you guys watched my video yesterday, I talked about bullish divergences and how they play out in virtually every single price chart, stocks, cryptos, precious metals, you name it. When you learn to spot these, it will completely change the game for you. So before we get into these projects, I need to talk about this first and give you a macro market outlook of what's to come next for everything outside the top 10, specifically these projects that are in today's video that we're going to discuss on the price chart. Because when you look at a bullish divergence and the price chart makes a lower low, but yet you see a key oscillator or indicator making a higher low, that's a sign that a reversal is coming. And I talked about this in our previous live call inside of Altcoin Pro University on the accelerator calls. You guys can watch that replay if you're in the program. If you're not, then you're just gonna have to wait till we open the doars again. But in the meantime, you can join Altcoin Pro through the link below and learn at your own pace, go through our technical analysis essentials course. But I talked about this breakdown in total 2 and explained how to look for divergences on the chart. So we saw this breakdown take place from this key zone of support. We came all the way down to about $1.51 trillion. And if you look at this low right here on the 30th of August and this low right here on the 1st of September, and you just connect them together, it's a lower low on the price chart. Now, if you look at the same thing on the relative strength index on the hourly chart, even going all the way back to the 29th of August, we were just continuously putting in lower lows. But if you look at the relative strength index all the way down here, you can see the RSI bottomed out here at 28. And on this low on the 1st of September on the price chart, the relative strength index was at 32, forming a higher low. So if you look right here, this is a regular bullish divergence. And this is a major reversal signal. The momentum to the downside is slowing and we'll inevitably see a reversal to the upside. Now, the key to understand with divergences is you never know when that reversal will take place, because price could have easily done something like this and coiled up in this falling wedge a little bit longer. The key to look for here is a break of structure and a trend change. And what that would be is clearing of previous range highs. So for example, you can see ever since the 24th of August on this major rally up here, we've been putting in lower highs. The 28th of August was a lower high. These were simply lower highs. We've been in a downtrend for over a week until just recently with this major move in the market, clearing the highs of the 30th and the 31st of August. Now, this is the first major sign of a trend reversal, where a trend change is a new series of higher highs and higher lows. So the lowest low right here is on the 1st of September at about $1.51 trillion. Now, we could pull back as long as we stay above that low, and the next low is a higher low. Even if we pull all the way back down here to about $1.55 trillion, and we bounce from this range right here, this would be a major trend reversal, and we would now be starting a new uptrend for total 2. The main thing that I want to see is us to hold on top of $1.58 trillion to even push even higher to clear this next high up here at about $1.62 trillion for total 2. So this is pretty much like a defibrillator to the altcoin market to shock these altcoins back into revival, because they've been going through a heart attack over the past week or two. So this is how we tend to see these reversals take place. Is on the right hand side of the screen, you can see total 2 going all the way back to the 21st of July. And so we see in a downtrend simply a series of lower highs and lower lows until we inevitably reach a bottom, and then we see an initial rally off of the low to clear a previous high to start a trend reversal. So right here by about the 4th of August, we saw this major rally off of this low of $1.33 trillion. And then we even rallied all the way up to about $1.44 trillion. Now on this first initial revival pattern off of the low, we tend to see a sell-off before we inevitably continue higher. And so depending on how high total 2 goes in the short term, we might see a short-term consolidation before pushing a little bit higher and then a much deeper consolidation, similar to what we saw during this phase right here on the recovery after the 4th of August to the 7th of August for a few days. So depending on what this looks like, this is what we then want to see, is a higher low being put in than the previous low to start a new uptrend. So for total 2, this would be the next step in the revival of the bull market for us to then go back to retest the previous high from the 22nd of August, even the 14th of August, similar to what happened back here for total 2 by the 8th of August. So $1.51 trillion all the way down here is a very key level of support to hold to maintain an uptrend for total 2. Now, this is important to understand because this is typically how the path to alt season goes. And you guys have seen this many times, but this is a nuanced point and the reason why you want to watch throughout the rest of this video to truly understand what's about to happen next. Because phase 1 is always Bitcoin, right? Money flows into Bitcoin, causing price surges. We've seen Bitcoin dominate this whole entire market cycle up until the 27th of June when we saw Bitcoin's dominance top out all the way up here at about 65, 66% and experience this sharp pullback. So now money has been rotating out of Bitcoin into altcoins like Ethereum, and we've seen Ethereum rally from $1,400 to over $4,000, nearly $5,000 now, just sitting on top of the previous high from the 11th of March, the 28th of May, the 8th to 17th of December. So we've officially transitioned from phase 1 to phase 2 of alt season, where Ethereum has been outperforming Bitcoin. We hear talks of the flippening phase. So the number one thing that smart investors are now preparing for is phase 3 to phase 4, where Ethereum has been outperforming Bitcoin and large caps are going parabolic, but we haven't seen large caps go parabolic and past their previous highs, other than some newer projects where this is their first bull run, whereas other projects that experienced the largest growth last bull run are lagging behind. For example, if we look at something like Uniswap sitting at $9.70, whereas the previous high from 2021 is up here at $44. Or even PancakeSwap sitting down here at $2.40, whereas the previous high was all the way up here at $42. And one could argue this is because newer projects are absorbing a lot of the liquidity, but even looking at something like Sui hasn't been going parabolic and isn't up at its previous high of January of $5.30. Sui's sitting at $3.30. So Sui, one of the most hyped up and promising layer 1s, is still lagging behind its previous high. So we're not in full-blown phase 3 yet. We're still in phase 2 of Ethereum outperforming everything else. But we've seen this phase overlap happen where money has started to trickle into large caps, where we see buy-ups happening, but the large caps are not going parabolic. So the biggest mistake that I see new investors make when they see this happen is they jump right into the low market cap projects and they start buying up projects that are virtually dead right now, that are small caps anywhere from $1 million to $100 million market cap, when we're not at that phase in the market cycle yet, and they're left waiting for the next 1 to 3 months, hoping that that rotation will take place, when where they should be focusing right now is the transition from phase 2 to phase 3 before they go full degen mode just yet. And the case in point is what's happened on Solana's blockchain. We saw this whole entire craze right here for a lot of new projects launching on Base, on Solana, where these major buy-ups were happening for all of these projects on the last major run-up in Q4 of 2024, and then we've seen these projects bleed out to next to nothing. So leaving a lot of people to wonder if meme coins are dead, and if all altcoins in general are going to make a recovery. So if we look up crypto on Google Trends, we can see that we've pulled back from July from 48 out of 100 to now we're at about 17 out of 100 in terms of public interest and retail interest. And if we look up something like meme coins and we remove crypto so we can see the interest in meme coins, it's at 13 out of 100. We've pulled back drastically from July, and even back here in January when we were 100 out of 100, when everything was going parabolic based on Solana's blockchain. So this is a key to understand here, because just as much as the charts go through the psychology of a market cycle, so does retail interest on Google Trends. And so what we're going through right now is the depression stage for meme coins, where people think that they're dead. Now, I think this is extremely important to talk about Ethereum and what's about to happen next based on what I see on the charts. Now, I could be wrong here, but I'm going to bring up data and I want to compare these two charts together to show you what happened last bull run cycle and why this is playing out similarly to the past. Now, there are some key differences here, so let me explain. Because if we go back to the previous high at the bottom of the screen, you can see when Ethereum topped out at $1,400 here. That was the bull market peak. Then we saw this A sell off, this B dead cat bounce, and then this C to the bottom for the bear market low of about $80 for Ethereum. Now, that's when everyone was out of the market. I mean, look at this. This was December of 2018. We can even go back to Google Trends. We can type in Ethereum here, sort based on 2004 to present. And look at this. On December of 2018, Ethereum was 4 out of 100. Nobody cared about Ethereum at that point. So we were in full blown bear market. And it wasn't until after October of 2020, Ethereum was still at a 4. Then it erupted to the upside and retail started diving back into the market. And by May of 2021, Ethereum was 100 out of 100. So, and if you look right now, Ethereum is only 20 out of 100. So sure, it's up, but it's nowhere near where it was back in May of 2021, which is a major sign that Ethereum's rally is not yet done because we're just sitting right here at the previous high of 2021 at the tail end of November, and we're at these exact same levels right now in price, but yet interest is cut in half. By November 2021, Ethereum was 44 out of 100, and right now we're at 20, but yet we're pretty much at the exact same price. So this shows that retail doesn't really care right now until Ethereum goes back into price discovery and sets a brand new all-time high. Because when you do it once, you shock the world, you get everyone excited. Case in point, we were 100 out of 100 here in May of 2021 for Ethereum, going full vertical on Google Trends. And what we were doing on the price chart, we were doing the exact same thing. We were going full vertical on the price chart for Ethereum. So now that Ethereum has rallied back up to these levels and it's doing it a third time, people are like, big whoop, cool, we've seen it before. Do something unique, do something new, and go into price discovery again to send Google interest from 20 out of 100 back up above at least 50. So one could argue based on this data alone that we're still in phase 2 because Ethereum is not in price discovery right now. And positioning yourself before phase 3 happens is how you set yourself up for the next major move. Look at this chart right here on the bottom of the screen. When Ethereum pulled an ABC correction at the bottom, now look at the top of the screen at the others chart. This is everything outside of the top 10 on CoinMarketCap. And you can see the same sell off, right? We had an A, we had a B, and then we have a C. But yet the C wave took even longer to come in for everything outside the top 10 to August of 2019. Whereas when Ethereum bottomed here, that was a higher low at about 6% of the dominance of the industry for others. And on this 2019 rally, it was a lower high, similar to Ethereum. But then we put in a lower low, whereas Ethereum stayed above $80 even during the COVID crash before we made that recovery from 2020 to 2021. Now here's the major key that I want you to understand here is from September of 2020 until January of 2021, Ethereum made a recovery from $300 back to the previous high of about $1,300 to $1,400. During that phase, we saw liquidity flow out of everything outside the top 10 and into the large cap projects, and others went from 11% market cap dominance during that phase all the way down here to about 5%. So liquidity was rotating into Ethereum at that phase. So if you were holding small cap altcoins expecting phase 4 to happen before phase 2, then you would have made a major mistake like I just mentioned. And this is why a lot of people are making that same mistake right now. Listen to this. It wasn't until Ethereum was at its all-time high and even broke above its all-time high, going from $1,400 to $2,000 really quickly, then backtesting its all-time high right here at the bottom of the screen. From the end of January until the end of March, for about 3 months, that's when others decide to catch up. When Ethereum was consolidating on top of its previous high of January of 2018, others went from about 5.6% all the way up to about 12% in market cap dominance. So when Ethereum cooled off after experiencing its rally, others caught up. And then others in Ethereum pretty much made a run together from 12% to 16%. Ethereum ran from $1,700 up here to about $4,400. And that's when Google Trends was going crazy for crypto, for altcoins, specifically for Ethereum, all the way up here. And that was one of the worst times to be buying into the crypto market at the peak. Again, you guys don't want to be buying when everyone cares. You want to be buying when virtually nobody is interested. So right now, in terms of meme coins, virtually nobody's interested here. We're at about 13 out of 100 here. And if we look at Ethereum on the bottom of the screen, we saw the same thing happen that we saw happen from 2018 to 2019 was an ABC corrective wave. Now, a lot of times in these ABC corrective waves, the B wave can be higher than the previous high. Case in point was by May of 2021, when altcoins topped out and sold off, Same thing for Ethereum. In terms of public interest on Google Trends, we saw this major pullback. And then by November of 2021, the public interest for Ethereum was lower, but yet the price was higher. So the B wave bounce, this dead cat bounce, was actually higher than the high. And then the C wave all the way down here by June of 2022 for Ethereum was pretty much like the C wave down here by December of 2018 for Ethereum. But look at what happened to others. It was the exact same thing. We saw this major A wave, this B wave to a new high, and then the C wave when Ethereum bottomed out. Others didn't bottom out until the 3rd of June of 2023. So just like the last cycle, Ethereum bottomed out first down here by December. Others bottomed out by August of 2019, about 236 days later after Ethereum. And for this cycle, Ethereum bottomed out in June of 2022, but others bottomed out by June of 2023, over 350 days later. When Ethereum was making this recovery right here from the bear market lows, similar to what happened back here in 2019 during this recovery right here. So we see some similarities there. Ethereum bottoms first, then others bottom after. And very similarly, we see it on the contrary as well too during a bull market. Ethereum rallies first, then others tend to trail behind, which is leading us to phase 3 and phase 4. Now here's one thing that's interesting is when we saw this major sell-off right here for Ethereum from $4,400 getting rejected once, twice, 3 times by December 2024 from the previous high of this B wave right here, even in the high of May, we saw Ethereum drop from $4,200 to $1,400, over 66%, pretty much the same percentage in terms of crashing as it was in COVID back in 2020. And we saw others pull back from about 12% all the way down here to 6.9% to 6.8% and bottomed out all the way down here. And now just recently, Ethereum decided to rise from the grade Frankenstein style and rally all the way back up to the previous high. And now we're just consolidating right at the previous high. Now, if you guys look what happened back here, like I just mentioned from, September, October of 2020 until January of 2021, when Ethereum rallied back up to its previous high, that's when others was finishing off its massive drop from 12% down here to about 5.5%, similar to what happened right here by the end of June. And now we're just seeing others barely start to make a move back up to about 8% right here, very far off from this descending resistance, which would put it about 10% if we see others catch up to Ethereum. Now, based on what happened back here from the end of January, beginning of February of 2021 until April, for 3 months, Ethereum pretty much just consolidated on top of its previous high. So my theory here, which is again pure speculation, I could be completely wrong, but I base my opinions off data that I see on the charts, is if this is all dependent, guys, if Ethereum breaks out. Now, if Ethereum doesn't break out and set a new all-time high, then this just isn't going to happen, and you have to be okay with that. But if Ethereum starts to break out, just get ready for a rotation into major large caps. And I'll explain what some of those large caps are going to be. So if we see Ethereum make a move really quick to $6,000, $7,000, or $8,000 and consolidate on top of its high over the next few months, remember, this was only 3-month period right here from beginning of February of 2021 until beginning of May of 2021 for Ethereum, that others absolutely exploded, going from 5% to 17% market cap dominance. So we've seen that rally for Ethereum back to its high. Others is finishing up its major sell-off right here from 12% dominance to about 6% dominance, and now we're seeing this first initial bounce for others. So if Ethereum breaks out to an all-time high, what could that mean for others? Well, I would expect others to then start catching up to Ethereum over the next 60 to 90 days. And depending on how high that puts others in the short term, will really depend on where Ethereum peaks out and starts to pull back aggressively, similar to what happened here from the 13th of May until the end of July of 2021 on this major pullback right here after the first initial top was in. So depending on where that puts others at the all-time high, this would then be the next A, B, C corrective wave for the bear market low, leading us into 2026 for an extended bear market where Ethereum would bottom first. And that all depends on how high Ethereum goes for this bull market cycle for the top or the B wave. And if the B wave is a lower high or a higher high, in 2018, the B wave was a lower high because of how parabolic we went, whereas in 2021, the B wave was a higher high for Ethereum and Bitcoin and others as well too. So we'll just have to see over the next 3 months how this plays out here. But this would be my expectation if and only if we see Ethereum go into price discovery and break above $5,000 or $6,000. Now, what could be a major catalyst for this? Well, in 13 days, 23 hours, we are about to see Jerome Powell come out and give a speech of interest rates, and there is a 95% expectation of him cutting rates. Now, this is extremely important because the next meeting is the 29th of October, and there's over a 90% expectation, 98% expectation of him to cut rates another time. By December, in the next meeting, there is over a 98 or 99% odds of him cutting rates a third time. And this is important because if you look at the effective federal funds rate chart here, and we just look over the past year, what's been going on here, even over the past 5 years, the Fed has been keeping rates steady, making money more expensive to borrow for overnight loans for banks. People aren't as bullish on risk on assets because of how expensive it is to pay back the interest on a loan. And with the Fed talking about cutting rates, that's extremely bullish for risk on assets like cryptocurrency, specifically Total 2, and then everything outside the top 10 when we see that rotation from the large caps into phase 4 of alt season. Now, does that mean we're going to continue up forever? No, in fact, we're actually really close to the top towards the end of this year. And I thought this was extremely interesting here, posted by the Scalping Pro here on Twitter, saying the best time to buy Bitcoin is 500 days before the halving. That's step number 1, because that's virtually the bear market low. And then step 2 is you just hold, do nothing. And then step number 3 is to sell roughly 500 days after the halving. Then step 4, repeat. Really simple. The problem is people don't have a lot of patience. And if you're just dealing with Bitcoin, this is a good strategy if you have patience. But if you want to learn how to compound your income even more and know how to time that rotation into altcoins at the right time to make even more money, so that way when you sell your Bitcoin, you know what to do with it, or you have some on the sidelines in cash, stable coins, gold, silver, real estate, you name it, but you can rotate some of that into altcoins that will experience the majority of the growth in the last phase of the cycle. Well, Bitcoin is now completed 500 days after the halving on the 1st of September of 2025. So does that mean that the top is in? Well, if you look at the data here, in 2013, Bitcoin peaked at $1,177, but the strategy signaled a sell around $413. So the sell signal actually came in a lot earlier. In 2017, Bitcoin peaked at $19,764, depending on what exchange you're looking at, but the sell signal came in around $8,200. And in 2021, Bitcoin peaked over 68 grand, but the strategy signaled they sell around $43,000. So this means that even after the strategy signaled to sell, Bitcoin sometimes continued higher for a few months after. In other cases like 2013, the strategy was too late as Bitcoin had already peaked before the 500 days. However, this was so early in the market cycle that there weren't really many, if not any, institutions in it back then. So it was a lot more volatile and there wasn't as much data to go off of. However, when it comes to buying, this strategy has been very accurate in identifying prices close to the cycle bottom. And as of the 1st of September, this strategy is again signaled to sell Bitcoin for this cycle at $108,000. So this might not be the absolute top, and Bitcoin could still go higher towards December of this year, but at some point in the bear market is very likely to drop below the $100,000 sell level. So that's why we're starting to see this rotation into Ethereum right now. And then over the next 3 months, it's going to be a mad dash into other large cap, mid cap, and then eventually micro cap projects. So that was extremely important for me to cover in the first half of this video, because if you don't understand that and you start going down here and you start buying these low cap projects on page 5, 6, 7 of CoinMarketCap too soon, then you could be waiting until literally the last month or let alone the last week of the bull run to see any gains, while liquidity flows into the large cap projects first. So these 3 projects I'm going to talk about in this video are meme coins. Now, like I just said, I don't own any of these projects, but these are the ones that I'd be looking into as like a weather radar to the meme coin market, where if these projects continue to the downside, then virtually everything else is going to continue to the downside in the meme coin market. But if these projects start to experience a rally off of these lows here soon, following along with what I just talked about, comparing others' chart to Ethereum breaking out to an all-time high, well then the smart investors that position themselves in these projects early could then rotate that capital if this were to take place on the sidelines, or if they want to stay in the meme coin casino or the crypto and the altcoin casino, can stick around for Q4, where large caps have gone fully vertical and we're seeing blown off tops, then mid caps, low caps, and micro caps all tend to pump around the same time at the tail end of the bull run. So we're going to go in order of 3, 2, 1 by market cap, and number 3 would be Pepe. Now, Pepe's market cap is around $4 billion. And if we click on all on CoinMarketCap, it's pulled back from the all-time high of around $10 billion, and it's sitting roughly 60% off from that all-time high. And Pepe's listed on all the top exchanges like Binance, Uniswap, Coinbase. So if we see that retail bounce back in the market again on Google Trends, well, this coin is easily accessible and a lot of liquidity would flow back into Pepe. Now, Memecoin is absolutely massive on Twitter. They got over 700,000 followers. They have a huge community. Now, in terms of utility, Memecoins are not about utility. They're about community and marketing. And anytime Pepe posts something, as stupid as it is, it gets insane amount of engagement. 4,500 likes to 5,000 plus likes per meme they post. And we even got the New York Post talking about Pepe as a good investment, which is crazy how the world works. Now, you can argue with this. You can hate this all you want. But when liquidity starts to rotate, nothing can stop what's coming to the crypto market. So like I said, this is a good coin to watch as an indicator for the health on the meme coin market, because meme coins have been down since December of 2024. As you can see here on Pepe's chart, we've just been experiencing lower highs, but we have been experiencing higher lows in this symmetrical triangle here. And in order for Pepe to do well, we would need to see Ethereum go into price discovery. So Pepe's been lagging behind because all eyes have been on Ethereum. But when Ethereum starts to get upwards of $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, maybe $10,000, a lot of the smartest investors are going to realize there's not much gains left in Ethereum towards the tail end of this bull run. So they're going to be rotating further down chain. And I think we will see a resurgence back in the meme coin market, similar to what happened in November of 2024 till December 2024. And it's going to happen rapid and it's going to happen quick. You don't know the exact date, but we see liquidity start to get injected really quick. And we see these institutional style pumps that brings retail back into the market at the peak. For example, look right here at what happened when Pepe went from this price of where it was at. There's so many zeros behind this coin. On the 5th of November, in 10 days, it went over 220% by the 14th of November. And look at Google Trends. Pepe went from 38 out of 100 to 82 out of 100, and then 100 out of 100 by December 8th through the 14th. So if the interest in a meme coin like this that has virtually no utility, just community and marketing memes, was 100 out of 100 on December 8th and 14th, does that mean that was the best time to buy it when everyone was interested? No, it's the exact opposite. Pepe was all the way up here by the 9th of December at its high for that year, at the exact same time that Google Trends was topping out at 100 out of 100. And had you waited to that moment, you would have been too late and used as exit liquidity. So you do not want to wait for these institutional style pumps to take place after long, boring consolidation periods, because when those pumps take place, they happen extremely quick and they are aggressive. So with what's happening right now with Pepe in this falling wedge right here, experiencing lower highs and lower lows, at some point this project is going to find a low. And if it's been found already and we bounce from these levels right here, or if we trend a little bit lower before we experience that bounce, I think there will be an aggressive move in the market. And this would be one of the projects that will move first along with these other two in this video. And like I just mentioned, Pepe is listed on virtually every single major exchange. They had a stealth launch with no pre-sale, zero taxes, the liquidity pool was burned, the contract renounced. They say they're a coin for the people forever. So the tokenomics are extremely simple. And the reason why these coins are so low in price is because the supply is extremely massive, but all of the supply is in circulation right now. So there would be no dilution other than sell-offs based on market sentiment of what's happening across the whole entire industry. So if we start to see a resurgence in Pepe, just watch. This would be at the same time that we see others start to rally back up closer to 10% in terms of dominance. Because Pepe is outside the top 10, it's ranked number 32, but it has a $4 billion market cap. And if we look on Certic here, which audits certain cryptocurrencies and protocols, well, it's ranked 89 as a AA in terms of code security, 93 out of 100, marketing, governance, operationals 85, communities 81. Fundamentals aren't as good, which is why it's not above 90, but still 89 out of 100 is pretty good. It's part of the top 5 percentile. You just don't want to be late to a project like this if you are considering adding any meme coins to your portfolio and you're waiting for the public to be interested again, because by the time the public's interested and we're all the way up here at these previous levels on Google Trend versus where we're at right now down here at the lows, then by then it's too late and the price is already going to be somewhere up here past its previous high. So just to get back to its previous high, it's over 200% away, or a 2x. Now project number 2 is Bonk. Now we saw Bonk experience a major rally by November of 2024, and its market cap was over $3.7 billion. Currently, Bonk's market cap is $1.65 billion. And in terms of blockchains, it's on Ethereum, it's on Binance Smart Chain, Solana, Polygon, Arbitrum, Aptos, Injective, Base. So it's cross-chain, and it's listed on Binance, Coinbase, Bybit, virtually all the top exchanges as well too. So this would be another meme coin that I would look at for the health of the meme coin market. Now, Bonk does have some key things they've been working on, like Bonk Rewards. It's a reward site for those who lock their Bonk Mark, to connect people globally with only a few clicks, which is pretty much an e-card that you can send for something like Mother's Day or Father's Day, and you enter the amount of Bonk or Solana that you want to send. They also have Bonk Scooper here, which allows you to quickly scoop all your unwanted assets into Bonk via Jupiter swaps. They have Bonk.live as well too, which is a token launchpad. So this isn't just a meme, their team's actually working on stuff. And we see a lot of other smaller cap projects use these launch pads across multiple different projects that have launch pads to get their project off the ground. Like we saw Simon's Cat launching through Floki's ecosystem as well too. And they have Bonk Bets too, which is sports betting, but it's not available in the United States. But for people outside the United States, this could drive some massive interest that are interested in sports betting. So they're integrated with all the top exchanges, and this team has just been working. Now, if we look at it on Certic, it got an 87 out of 100, code securities 82, market 96, governance 86, operational 79, community is 98 out of 100, and it's a part of the top 15 percentile. Now, if we look at Bonk's chart here, it's well below its all-time high of November of 2024 by about 67%. But we are in an uptrend here since March of 2025, forming higher highs and higher lows. The recent pullback here from July is now just pulling back to another higher low, and depending on how low this low comes in at, even if we trend a little bit lower, at some point I would expect Bonk to bounce alongside Pepe and the rest of the altcoin market with Total 2 as Ethereum breaks into an all-time high. So remember, this is depending on Ethereum breaking out. If Ethereum doesn't break out, then projects like Pepe or Bonk are just going to go sideways or down in the short term, so keep that in mind. But when we see that breakout happen, it happens fast. Every single time these meme coins experience a surge like this, it happens really quick. For example, from the 23rd of June to the 17th of July, over the course of 24 days, in less than a month, Bonk rallied over 250%. The time before then, on this low on the 8th of April, in 19 days, Bonk rallied 143%, even to this high. In 34 days, in 1 month, 187%. So over the course of a month or less, we see massive liquidity injections. Even going back here to the 4th of November of 2024 to the 20th of November, in 16 days, Bonk rallied 259%. So we pay attention to where the strength is. The projects that have rallied the hardest in recoveries are the projects that are most likely to bounce the highest during the next recovery. And I think Bonk would be one of those projects. So just pretty much watch this ascending support here. This would be the next point of contact for Bonk if we continue further sideways or down before we see the next liquidity injection overall into altcoins. Now, the last altcoin on today's list is actually the sponsor of today's video, and that's Floki. Now, I personally don't own any Floki, just like I don't own any Bonk or I don't own any Pepe. And regardless of them sponsoring this video or not, Floki would still be a part of the list, and here's why. The market cap of this project is at $880 million. It's ranked number 86. It's a part of the top 100. It's on all the top exchanges as well too. Binance, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, Coinbase, and the other major exchanges. It's pulled back from its all-time high, just like all the other altcoins, from $2.6 billion, down 73% from its high. Because it is a little bit lower of a market cap project than Bonk or Pepe, I actually do think Floki has a potential for a higher upside. And we see a similar recovery pattern taking place like I just showed you on Bonk's price chart, where we're now seeing higher highs along with higher lows being formed here after the bottom on the 8th of April. And if you look at the liquidity injection that took place into Floki all the way back here from February of 2024, it rallied over 800%. So each time these rallies take place, they are aggressive, they are very fast over the course of 30 days. This most recent one was 150%. So depending on where this bottom comes in at for Floki, if we see Ethereum breaking out, another 150% isn't even back to the previous high. And I think that's coming relatively soon over the next 30 to 60 days. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. But this team has just been building. They have over 700,000 followers here on Twitter. They're constantly marketing nonstop. The last post was 8 hours ago. They're having a $5,000 Solana trading competition on their trading bot through Telegram. And if you guys want to enter into that, you have until September 30th to compete. There's 0% fees. You just go to their Twitter, check it out. They have their Valhalla game they've been working on. So they have an entire dev team for that as well too. They have some type of major announcement coming September 8th that they just posted here that they're hinting at. So we'll see what that is. If you guys have ever seen those little robots that drive down the street with like Uber Eats orders and you have to walk by them on the street, they're doing this now with the Floki Viking horns that they reposted right here from Real Rice AI. Now, it'd be cool to see what these robots are used for, but I think this is clever marketing here. So in terms of actual meme coin utility and building stuff that people can use or play with, like their Valhalla game, to give people an actual reason to own something other than just the memeability or the community for meme coins specifically, I do think Floki has the most utility here, especially with their trading bot. They have TokenFi as well too. They have their staking program where you can stake your Floki tokens and earn TokenFi, which is their sister token, as a reward. And speaking of which, TokenFi is in full-blown depression mode right here, down at a $12 million market cap, with its all-time high over $200 million. So will we see TokenFi make a recovery at the tail end of this bull run? I think if Floki's breaking out, TokenFi should see a resurgence, and it's kind of like a leverage play on the Floki coin itself. For example, what I mean by that, if I just pull up TokenFi here, during that major run up here from January of 2024, by March of 2024 was over 1,000%. It did a 10x in just 80 days. At the same time that Floki did a 10x, but now that Floki's market cap is just shy of $1 billion, it'll take a lot more liquidity to do a 10x again. But for TokenFi to do a 10x, it would only need to go to a $120 million market cap, which is almost half of its all-time high. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen because it would be dependent on Floki breaking out in the rest of the industry, but even looking at TokenFi on Certic, it has an 88.48. It's a AA. It's a part of the top 10 percentile, even though the market cap is in the dumps right now at less than $13 million. So Floki has their NFTs, they got their debit card, they got their University of Floki, and they're launching educational courses for blockchain, DeFi, wallet security, which I actually really like. And the reason why I like that is because that's what we're doing with our company, Altcoin Pro, to educate new investors and even intermediate investors about the crypto market, for everything about DeFi, building blocks of Web3, technical analysis, crypto security, you name it. So I think this is a great idea because even Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong talks about onboarding users on chain, and their goal is to onboard 1 billion users. And even if they just hit a fraction of that, there's a mass amount of retail investors that are just uneducated about the crypto market. And so the fact that their team is striving to solve that just brings more interest to their project. And if we measure right here from the 12th of May to where when Floki experienced a bottom, it was 41 days after that sell-off of about 51%. Well, the current high for Floki right here on the 23rd of July, we've been in a sell-off for about 41 days. About 43%. So even if we go a little bit further to the downside of like 49, 50%, eventually the sell-off will be over and we'll experience a bounce to the upside because we don't go down forever. Also, we don't go up forever, but the smartest investors position themselves before the next major move in the market. And I think that's what's coming. And like I just mentioned, it'll happen fast, it'll happen quick. We just don't know how big it'll be. But if it's like any of the last couple rallies that have taken place after April of this year, bringing us back to this ascending resistance right here from where we're currently at right now is about a 100% move. So take that with it what you will. I'm not telling you to buy any of these cryptocurrencies. I'm not telling you to sell anything. I'm just showing you what I see in the market. So before you go full degen and you guys start dumping your money into the lowest market cap projects, these are 3 of the meme coins that I'd be watching underneath a penny that will give us a health indicator for the entire meme coin market. And if we see these projects breaking out, then comment below what other project you want us to cover in another video that you think has massive potential to become a mid cap to a large cap project once we get over to phase 4 into full-blown alt season near the tail end of this year. So as always, I appreciate you guys for watching this video. If you want to see what other projects our research team is extremely bullish on when that liquidity comes back into the crypto market, then definitely check out the link in the description below, because our team has been spotting some of the top projects before mainstream does. And if you position yourself properly, then you can learn about those projects before the masses. For example, our research team posted GOAT on the 13th of October of 2024 when it was right at a penny, and since then it rallied to over $1, 5,000%. That's like turning $1,000 into over $50,000. Our team called Pendle at only a $16 million market cap, or 16 cents, back on February 18th of 2023, all the way back here, and since then it's rallied up over 4,000%. That's a 40x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $40,000. Our team also called BitTensor Tau September 15th, 2022, before the token was ever even launched. And since then, Tau has rallied over 2,000%. That's a 20x. Our team even said Solana is most likely to be one of the easiest trades next year, and this was posted December 29th, 2022, on the day that Solana bottomed out at around $8. And since then, Solana looks like it's up over 2,500%. That's a 25x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $25,000. The list goes on and on and on. Our team called Sui, Ondo, and even some of the biggest cult-based meme coins like MOG back in July 20th of 2023, the day that MOG launched. So if you want to learn how our team is finding these altcoins before they explode, we just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University through the link below. And although we make no guarantees because crypto is definitely risky, guys, this is only $97 a month or $970 a year. If you want to save $194, getting 2 months for free and unlock some exclusive bonuses, just go through the link in the description below. Get in right now. Watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers to help you become the first millionaire in your family tree, if that's a goal of yours. And you can get started through the link in the description below right now, or you can go to bullrunners.com to take advantage of the bonuses we're giving you before they expire. Everyone is loving the community. They're loving the education. They're getting access to real-time altcoin picks first before we ever make videos about them. So click the link in the description below, watch the video, and I'll see you on the inside.